Man, it's been a pretty eventful week thus far. The Jets and the Giants both making moves. So, Ian, more likely before the deadline on Tuesday, November 1, Joe Douglas brings in an offensive lineman or Joe Shane brings in a wide receiver?
I mean, I would say I'm sure calls will be made on both sides. If the Jets are going to bring in an offensive lineman, I would say who? Because, weirdly, everyone wants an offensive lineman. Everyone wants an interior offensive lineman. It's like it's one of those things every year. Like when I get calls from, general managers or personnel directors, whatever, it's always some form of like, hey, who's shopping O linemen? And it's always like, yeah, nobody is because they're impossible to get. Receivers you can get. So I would say probably the answer would be the Giants on that one. And it's crazy because we're talking about both these teams being buyers. And it's not like the Giants have a ton of money available. If they did anything to bring on payroll, they'd have to do some financial things and figure it out, which you could do.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I would say, receiver probably more likely just because offensive linemen are so hard to find.
Interesting. Based on your conversations, all of your intel, some of the teams that we thought that would be pretty good coming into the year, whether it was the Browns or certainly the Chargers, those teams are a little down. Can you identify a couple of teams that were supposed to be good that might be inclined to start stripping away? Because, you talk about offensive linemen. Why can't the Jets get somebody like Conklin from the Browns?
Conklin's very expensive.
Okay.
Now you could, and I think the other thing would be like, are you sure he's better than what you have?
Yes,
because that would be then that deal makes sense. But that's always the question because I think for a guy like Conklin, he's been injured, coming off a significant injury. He's making a lot of money. It also what you might see is what the Bears did, right? Because the Bears, I'd say we're open to trading Robert Quinn, the pass rusher, got him to the Eagles, get a 4th round pick back because they paid his salary. So if you have a team like the Browns really are a team to watch. The Broncos would be a team to watch. The Raiders would be another one. There's several of these where you're like, all right, if they lose this week, then they're 2-6 or whatever it is. That's probably something where they'd be sellers and you're like, what good players do they have available? So, I would say Conklin would be a possibility, but for me, more likely, if you think you're sure he's better than what you have, but probably something where the Browns would probably have to pay some of the salary to get a better draft pick than they otherwise would get.
Ian, you have the same mindset as me as it pertains to the Giants. It just would be very complicated salary cap wise to make a trade and bring on a salary that doesn't fit necessarily under the cap. And, why do that now? But I'm starting to get the feeling that that's something that they are entertaining. At what point do they start saying, we are good enough to be a playoff team this year, and we need upgrades at wide receiver, which has become obvious?
Now. I mean, here's the thing. Like, we could talk about championship window, and that's a phrase that gets thrown around a lot. I think everybody would have agreed universally that the championship window is open for a team like the Bucs, right?
Yes.
Except I saw them last night, and they certainly do not look like that. And I don't know if they're going to get back to where they are. The point of me saying this is, if you have the opportunity to have any sort of window open, and the Giants do, and the Jets do, by the way, but specifically on the Giants, like, you take it. You get better. You use the window you have. I mean, I watch every game every week, and I don't see why the Giants aren't as good as any of these teams. I know they're like, we've spent a lot of time talking about how their personnel isn't great, except they're playing well. So at some point, it's like, maybe they actually are kind of okay.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they are okay. Maybe they're better than we thought they were on paper. Are there any specific targets you can think of? Because we've had some callers, and we've talked about this as well, saying, I don't want a short-term rental. So you don't necessarily want to go after a guy who's a free agent in 2023. Okay. You'd most likely go after a guy who's a free agent in 2024. And there's a lot of really good young players. Chase Claypool's one that comes to mind. A couple of these wide receivers from the Cincinnati Bengals, because eventually they're going to have to really pay one of those guys, which is going to cloud the cap in the wide receiver room. Exactly.
The Jamar Chase injuries just made that hard.
Yeah,
but
true.
Go ahead, sorry.
But who is the target, you would think, for, let's say, the Giants right now? Like, who's to be had?
I'll say in general, the receivers out there are Brandon Cooks, who, the Texans are getting calls on him, and he's been super productive. He is making a lot of money this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like 16 or 18. But again, like, might a team like the Texans say, we'll pay half or something because we'd rather a premium draft pick. Like you
Got
might
it.
have that because if you're the Texans and you're bad, you're paying the salary anyway. Like you're
True.
on the books. If you don't trade him, you're paying it. So might as well pay it, get a better draft pick. Jerry Jeudy is another one. People are sort of split on how good he actually is. He's very talented. He drops the football a lot. I don't know how good he is, but some teams think he's pretty good. That would be another. So you got Cooks, you got Jeudy. I'm trying to think who else. There's a couple other
DJ
sort
Moore?
of receiver
DJ Moore?
names. I don't
No?
think so. I mean, DJ Moore is a guy that I think the Panthers would like to build around. Claypool is one, but they want so much for him. I just don't know that the Giants would do that, or honestly anyone. So there's guys, but it's a little bit of a smaller pool than maybe you'd expect.
Got it.
Okay. Has this Elijah Moore situation been fully resolved? I mean, where are we going with this with the Jets?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be fully resolved until, either he gets the touches he wants or he gets a little happier, but he's expected to play. He's been at practice, and I don't see them trading him. So, it's been resolved as much as it could be resolved now until the next time something happens. They do like him, though. And if you like him and you're committed to him and you want him to be successful, usually you can make that happen. It's been interesting to me because if you look at the actual touches, I know when I reported that he wanted out, which was a week ago, seems like a year ago.
That was a week ago. Yep.
He was, whoa, my lights just went off and we're back. It's pretty funny. He had not had a lot of touches that game, but he was among the team leaders in touches. So I just wonder if there's something else going on. But, this is a Robert Saleh thing where it is his job to make sure that Elijah Moore is okay enough to play. And it seems that that's where he's gotten with this situation.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. And, but just to move outside, you talked about the Eagles and the trade for Robert Quinn, which made perfect sense for the Bears. They were going to cut him anyway, so they got some assets for him. But it feels like the Eagles, it's hard to accept that they're the best team in the NFL, but they're continually showing that they are, and they're making themselves better. I mean, they're really going for it. And it's a surprise in Sirianni's now second year that he's really made this big of a difference to this team, which felt like it was lost three seasons ago.
It's funny you say that. I had my tweet on the Robert Quinn trade that I put out a couple of days ago when the trade happened, and I said something like, you always want to have a nice dramatic tweet when you break some big news, right?
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah. So I said, that's right. So I said the NFL's best team. And I'm like, shoot. Like, I wonder if someone's going to say something or I'm going to catch flack for that. And then I'm like, wait, they actually are the only undefeated team. So by definition, they literally are. But even for me, it took a second to be like, wait, are they? Because I did the same thing that you did, Tiki, where I'm like, are they that good? Like, I think they are. But anyway, they did something that was very interesting. 2 years ago, they changed play callers in the middle of the season and didn't tell anyone. And Shane Steichen, their offensive coordinator, took over play calling, and they became a much better team. He's been calling the plays this year, and he's been awesome. And it's let Nick Sirianni be just a head coach, which is a big-time, full-time job, just what Brian Daboll is doing, by the way. And the play calling has been great, and they've been one of the better teams. So, I think mainly because people didn't know what to make of Jalen Hurts, but he's been one of the best stories of the NFL, and also seems like an awesome guy. Not that it matters.
Yes.
So yeah, I would say they're plenty good enough.
Is I hate to lay it at his doorstep because there's other circumstances. Brady's personal life is in shambles, unfortunately. But is it just fair to say that Todd Bowles is just a coordinator and not really a good head coach, like many of us kind of surmised?
I hope not. I hope you're wrong. I don't know though, but I hope you're wrong, because I think he has what it takes to be a good head coach. Players like him; they play for him. But Brady's not really playing very well.
No.
You watched last night. There's bouncing balls to Julio. There's a touchdown to Kyle Rudolph where he's like 5 feet off, like really off. And I've watched Brady for 20 years, and that's about as easy a throw as you can get. And Kyle Rudolph, God bless him, is not moving that fast. So it's not like, So you see Brady miss throws like that, and then I know Bowles is getting some criticism, as is Byron Leftwich, but I'm like, I think people just need to play better,
Okay, I got one more for you. Is Geno Smith top 5, top 6 MVP right now?
Oh my God.
I mean, he's got 11
I mean,
touchdowns.
I know.
Okay.
I know. I get it.
He leads the league in completion percentage for those who don't know. He's got a 110 quarterback rating. I mean, guy's playing lights out.
I know. It just took me a minute to like process what you just said. I love Geno. I think he's been through it and he has come out the other end in a really cool way. Geno Smith is MVP of the NFL would be maybe the greatest story in the history of the league. Not trying to be hyperbolic or anything. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Seattle is crazy. They thought internally that they're going to be so much better than everyone else thought. And I remember thinking that they were crazy. And they're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And they're really good. And Geno's been playing great. And the Russell Wilson trade is going to be the best thing that has literally ever happened.
And it offsets the Jamal Adams trade, which is one of the worst things they've done recently.
it's so smart.
Yeah, but worked out well for the Jets.
Oh, that's all I care about.
Last one for you, Ian. It seems like the Daniel Snyder stuff is calming down, like not big of a deal anymore. Any update? What should we be listening for?
I would describe it more as a hiatus because it's going to pick back up when the Mary Jo White investigation is dropped, which could be at any just whenever it's dropped. It'll, I would not be surprised if it was fairly soon. I just don't know particularly when. So I think Irsay said what he said. Everyone reacted. Everyone wrote, and then it's like, okay, now let's see what the Mary Jo White investigation shows, and whenever that is, then everyone will react and. It'll either be on or it will not be on.
Okay. Well, listen, here's what you need to do. Next time you got to break news, tell the NFL Network and everybody else that you're beholden to, tough. You come on our show and you're breaking it here, okay?
Count me in on that.
Love it.
Yeah, okay.
I'll pretend. I'll make a promise, guys.
Or just make up a story and you can break it here and then you can retract it later on. We'll still get the pop. It's all good. Thank you, dude.
All right.
Appreciate
Sounds good.
you.
I like that.
Have
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Yeah, Ian Rapoport, of course, with us here on Tiki and Tierney.